life in our lungs, God. And Lord, as we shift gears and take care of all of this exciting, fun city business, Lord, I pray that you'll give us wisdom and help us proceed over these following events, God, with the wisdom of God and the knowledge of Christ. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. We won't need the 2018 budget item on the study session this evening. That was to discuss health insurance options with you. And we do have another option that we're going to show you that you may want to add that concerns health savings account arrangement. But the figures that came to us weren't as clear as we wanted them, so we'll get together and present that at our next meeting. That will still give us enough time if you wish to add that to the city's options to offer to the employees.
Good deal. Okay, moving on with the approval of minutes for the July 26, 2017 special meeting.
I move that we approve the minutes of the July 26, 2017 special meeting.
Second.
Go ahead.
That's been moved by Commissioner Hash and seconded by Commissioner Parker to approve the minutes of the July 26, 2017 special meeting. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So moving on to financial matters, appropriation ordinance 14.
I'll move to approve appropriation ordinance number 14.
I'll second.
Been moved by Commissioner Pounce, seconded by Commissioner Sacco to approve appropriation ordinance number 14. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. This time we'd open the floor up to anyone who'd like to make a public comment. Going once, going twice. Okay, this time public comments are closed. Moving on to manager's report.
Possibly a record. It's 5:33.
What's even more amazing is that you're here. It's happening that quickly.
We'll try to stretch things out a bit. Let me begin by introducing our new city attorney. I think maybe you all know him in any event, but Justin, you want to have a word or two with the commissioners? Sure. We'll make another seat at the table for Justin. Stacy is from the old city.
Since we appear to be doing good on time, I'll make sure not to stretch this out too much. Thank you. I appreciate it. I look forward to working with all of you. A little bit about my past. I'm originally from Topeka. Moved here about 8 years ago. Up until April of last year, I actually worked as an in-house attorney, risk manager for KCAMP, which is the Kansas Counties Association multi-line pool. That's why there was the acronym. What I was the in-house attorney and risk manager for that insurance pool. We insured cities, municipalities, and counties in Kansas. So this is actually very familiar territory for me. I'm looking forward to getting back into the government entity work. So I look forward to working with all of you. And I like to think that in the 11 years that I worked there, I had some pretty interesting scenarios and stories thrown at me. So I'm sure there's, hopefully there's nothing that will catch me off guard. I've had some very interesting situations. So I look forward to working with all of you and working with the city and the citizens of Concordia. So if you guys need anything, I'm very close. Feel free to get a hold of me. Thanks.
Thank you, Justin.
The League of Kansas Municipalities asked that you approve the voting delegate to the annual meeting by a voice vote. I believe Commissioner Sacco was the only one planning to attend. So I'd entertain a motion appointing him as the voting delegate to the League of Municipalities annual meeting.
I move that we appoint Sam Sacco as the voting delegate to the Kansas League of Municipalities meeting.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Hash, and second by Commissioner Parker to appoint Commissioner Sam Sacco as the voting delegate for the annual meeting for Kansas League of Municipalities, League of Kansas Municipalities. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Dan Hayes contacted us this morning about fireworks at the football games. As you may recall, he's done that for several years now and wants to do it again. Our ordinances require approval of you to do that, so I'd entertain a motion authorizing Mr. Hayes to provide fireworks at the home football games for Concordia High School this season.
I'll move that we approve Dan Heist to fire off fireworks at the football games.
We do have to score, though.
Well, after.
Let's not add
Well,
that in
yeah,
there.
yeah. No,
No
it's
unnecessary
stand.
conditions need to be added.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Pounds and seconded by Commissioner Parker to allow Dan Heist to shoot fireworks off at the high school football games. Is there any further discussion?
Have we had a requirement in the past that we need to be with a reasonable moisture level or anything like that?
I think we've left it kind of to his discretion.
Up to his discretion? And that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it?
We've never had any problems.
Okay.
And the kids, I know that first year when he did it, I had a couple of the high school football players to say they really appreciated it, so.
Is there any cost to the school or to the city by him doing
No,
this?
I think he does this on his own, raises money.
I believe so too. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sound, same sign. Motion passes.
Your pool committee is diligently working away, but we can't seem to get out of kind of wheel spinning mode. So we're gonna have a couple meetings this week and next. Try to present you with some just a general outline of what we're seeing by the next meeting. And that's really the only comments I have this evening, unless you have something for me.
Commissioner comments?
Good.
Comment that I would make, be fairly brief for me anyway. I want to thank both Fire Chief and the Police Chief for their presence last evening, at least at our National Night Out. I believe you guys made rounds at all the National Nights Out. I think it's great to have that presence there. I know the kids enjoy seeing y'all and your vehicles and hearing the sirens go off. It's just nice to have that community presence. I think it was a good success, so appreciate your support and involvement of those activities.
And as well as the food you both organizations provided the public. That was kind of nice too. Appreciate that.
All right. No. All right, moving on to staff comments.
A few weeks ago, a house on 200 block west 18th, Herman's house burnt down pretty good. That site's been cleaned up, so on the next appropriation ordinance, you'll be seeing a $21,000 check plus interest going back to them. We held that against it until they get that site cleaned up. It's all the house material's gone and the hole's still there, but they'll be filling that hole this week, and so here in a couple of weeks, you'll see that, so.
Snavely's did the cleanup on that, right?
Excuse me?
Did Snavely's?
Lyndon Snavely did the work, yes.
Short report on 18th Street. They poured the intersection of State Street last week, so we'll probably open that next week sometime. And right now they're working on down on Broadway. They poured one half of it yesterday, and I think they're going to pour the other half of the approaching street to the main part tomorrow morning. They had their curb machines broke down, so that's what they're doing, the intersections right now. So hopefully they get that fixed, they pour some curb, and they'll do the backside of the driveways, and then they can pour the main line. Okay?
No, I was told by somebody that lives on there that when the intersections are poured, we have to keep people off of it for 2 weeks. Is that correct, or were they
10 days to
misinformed?
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause they told me when they poured state, some lady come along, went around the obstacles and everything and drove right across it.
Yeah,
Did that do any
they turn
damage?
around on it. I didn't see none. What they do is when it's warm out like that, they spray a sealant on top of it. They track that sealant just a little bit.
It was
So-
about 4 hours after it was done and already set up. You could walk on it, but it's just,
Yeah.
I got the call, I was out there, I went home, I got the call, had to be back out there when one of the neighbors called, said somebody just drove on it.
Yeah. We had to put extra barricades up there because they was jumping and driving through the yards and stuff, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a kind of a hassle. We get it opened up next week and people can go back through there again and.
Yeah.
That's the busiest part.
And it's not, I mean, you know, if you live in the area, you just remember that you gotta, oh yeah, I need to go down to 17th or go up to the college. It's not that big of a deal, so it'll be nice once that street's done.
Yep. Okay, that's all I had.
Thanks, Ron.
Get a chance to go up by the West Tower and check out the logos they were put on today.
Looking nice, so.
Cool.
You did see them? Yeah, they're
Nice.
pretty neat.
Did some extensive research on hole 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Is that something, Jeremy, that they actually paint on, or do
It's
they?
painted. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody got to go up there and.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were up there.
Next few weeks, I'll be installing LED lights around it to light up.
Cool.
So it'll be pretty cool.
Be nice when I got down to get my golf ball.
Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for your comments about last night. That's what I wanted to elaborate on today. Police Department paired with the Year of Peace Committee with funding from the Community Foundation for the National Night Out. The Broadway Plaza was host to 5 organizations, including the fire department. And we had 4 others around the community that we made multiple appearances on with various officers. And I think we had a good turnout. I think it was very successful.
Okay, you have seen the budget many times. This didn't change from the last time that you've seen it. It shows a 1 mil increase for the library. I'll just go ahead and run down summary of everything. We maintain the same cuts to the general fund as we did this year, which was about $40,000. We cut transfers to the capital improvement project fund by about 20%, which was $41,000. We cut transfers to equipment reserve by 12%, which was about $26,000. We did include a cost of living adjustment of 1.3%, and we added back step increases, which we took out this year. The guaranteed reserve is, I think it's exactly what it was last year at 409,000, which it will be more than that, but that is our guaranteed, will not be lower than that at the end of the year. And as of now, our health insurance is set, as we discussed last time, at 100% employee paid and 60% of every other level of the remaining amount. And like Larry said, we'll bring you one other option next week, or next meeting, but it raises the total cost, I guess, by adding this option. So, I don't know, there's a lot of ins and outs, and we're gonna get it all figured out and put together something that makes sense to everybody and then talk about it, but that won't affect this, so we can still stay at our as-planned budget amount. So, I guess all I need is you to tell me that I can publish this, and then we'll have our public hearing next meeting.
The guaranteed balance and the year-ending balance, can you explain the difference in those two?
Well, basically, I put the 409,000 there as not planning to be spent at all. And then, and so that's what we know we're not gonna go below at the end of the year, cause it's not anywhere else in the budget. And then each department has their budget, which everybody has to stay under. So the amount at which they stay under is what also adds to the year-end balance. So if they don't have an employee for part of the year, that's the main thing that adds to that, or just if they don't spend their operation amount. But usually, especially with our cuts right now, it's usually just the employee portion. So when somebody's gone those months before somebody gets rehired is the main savings.
And you don't think $300,000 is too optimistic?
That's what our history has usually been.
Okay.
Now, we have been declining each year, and that's putting that amount in there, so.
So Amber, when we have, say, 300,000 over that, does that then go into next year's budget?
That's our
Or-
starting balance then in the general fund for next year to work from going forward.
Do you, like, if you're over 300, or would it be 700?
The whole 700 would be the,
But of that 7, then we're still hoping to have 409 plus or minus as a,
to put in for the next year.
the guaranteed reserve
Yes.
to end up.
But like, I mean, we have been slowly, well, not, I mean, yeah, slowly reducing that each year as you get more people, more spots filled and less, I mean, that's what, because we've been keeping expenses pretty much the same. Revenues have been pretty much the same. Now, when I say expenses the same, we've been cutting. We cut this year, we cut for next year, so. Yeah, we don't know, I guess, where we'll end next year, but history shows that we should be at least 600,000.
Do you need a formal motion to approve
No,
this to
I don't think so.
publish it?
Next meeting, we'll have a formal approval of the budget, but just,
If we're just informing you, we plan to publish this.
Okay.
Correct, unless you have any.
So do it.
Any other staff comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for an executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask for an executive session for non-elected personnel, inviting me, lasting 15 minutes.
I move to go into executive session to discuss a matter involving non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy of the persons involved and to reconvene in open session in 15 minutes, inviting Mr. Uri.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Hash and seconded by Commissioner Parker to move into executive session to discuss a matter involving non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy of the persons involved and to reconvene in open session in 15 minutes, inviting City Manager Uri. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Sorry, Sam. Didn't mean to cut you off. It's been moved by Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner Hash, that we enter into executive session for an additional period of 10 minutes, inviting Mr. Uri for the discussion of non-elected personnel. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. 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 Motion passes.
Where is this? He's already in there. What you do? What does it say? What are you looking at? Why is he gonna have to come and fix it?
Still recording? You have the directions. No, I think you said it for 30 minutes. Once it's been unused.
I don't like her.
What particularly jumps you?
I guess I can say 15
It was,
from 48.
it's like
was-
6:64.
Record what?
Okay.
Instead of asking me the next day. The last time you messed it up. You asked me all these times when things happen.
Yeah, the motion passes.
If it says like it has, then it
Of course, last time I was in Chicago, didn't you? It's still probably.
too efficient.
Only because we were a little inefficient.
Sorry. This is level
Tempting.
I was concerned.
So long as 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Somebody on death row is looking at that clock.
What was Friday? Oh, the 29th. There it is. We close on time. No action was taken. At this time, I would entertain a motion for adjournment to a study session discussing a revolving loan fund, the animal ordinance, and sidewalk replacement policy, curb and gutter policy.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So moved by Commissioner Sacco and seconded by Commissioner Parker to adjourn for a study session discussing the three aforementioned items. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Starting our study session for the revolving loan fund, I believe?
Yes, and I will cede the floor to the people who are working with this all the time, so Ashley, come on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have with me Deb Peters. If you haven't met her yet, Deb works at North Central Regional Planning Commission. She's very well versed in revolving loan funds. She works with ours as well as revolving loan funds that she has at NCRPC and Belleville's revolving loan fund. Are those all that you have in your region? Okay. And so Deb really helped us out. We have our revolving loan fund policy, but it's not ever really been in a user-friendly form. And so Deb just asked if we would like her to do that with a lot of the updates that Department of Commerce has done. And so she has done just that, and I'll let her take the floor.
In 2005, the Kansas Department of Commerce held a training session with all the revolving loan funds that are in place throughout the state of Kansas. And those revolving loan funds who didn't attend the training were actually sent letters asking to return their money. So they've gotten pretty serious about everyone following the rules of the revolving loan fund, and with what's going on at the state level, just finding opportunities to take money back to Topeka. So I was unable to attend the training, but Ashley did go on behalf of the city of Concordia. And there were several new rules that came out as a result of that training. One of those was to limit the maximum loan that can be provided to any one borrower on a cumulative basis to $100,000. And also the requirement of a minimum of third match. There were some updates made to existing loans being assigned to, let's say, new purchasers. If an existing borrower was selling their business, their loan could be assigned to another borrower. with a new application submittal, and some new language in floodplain and so forth. So what I helped with was to update the guidelines so that they do include all the new rules. And you were provided the guidelines and loan agreement. What we've done is actually, those were two separate documents. We've combined those together, so the rules are all in one place. The borrower's signing off on all the rules, so there's less chance of error. For example, the borrower saying, well, I didn't know this or I didn't know that. It's all included in one document. We also addressed some of the closing documents. We've created an administrative document that outlines some of the things that the city as well as Cloud Corp is managing the pool, some of the things that they would be responsible for. And then we also created a new application form. It's actually a 5-page form. And before, the city was using a business plan, and Kansas Department of Commerce said we want an actual application with the same information coming from every borrower. And so the best way I thought to do that was to make the application as easy as possible to be completed. And there's a checklist on page 4 where some of these things would actually apply to every borrower, and some of them would be specific to the project itself. For example, a startup business isn't going to have historical financials. An existing business that shows repayment ability, probably not going to have a business plan. So that can be varied then project to project. I met with the Concordia Revolving Loan Fund Committee on 2 different occasions, and they've reviewed all the updates, and we've done some tweaking, and the only thing that they really didn't have an opinion on was adding a late fee. A late fee is not a requirement of the state, but back to the guidelines and administrative, guidelines and loan agreement. On page 6, there's a penalty payment being suggested of $15 on any monthly payments that are 10 days or more in arrear. And so that was left to the city council to decide whether you wanted to have a penalty or not have a penalty.
My thought on the subject was $15 in the scale of what we're doing isn't much of a penalty, and it might be worth keeping in its worth.
It's, yeah. How would we know that the payment wasn't received? Who gets that information? You'd get it.
Amber is collecting the payments, and if a late payment was added, then that would be another responsibility added then to her duties. And since it's not a state requirement, I guess my thinking is, the purpose of the pool is to help businesses, any way you can, and so, the bank's gonna definitely be charging a penalty. You may or may not want to.
I'm fine if it's not on there.
I don't think it's gonna, $15 isn't gonna, an overdraft fee is more than that.
Well, and normally they're gonna have automatic payments anyhow, so they really shouldn't be late, should they?
There's no money in
Unless
the
they
bank.
don't have money in their account.
I think the idea of it is fine, but I don't think it's necessary.
And so all the documents that you have before you, the items in red are not necessarily the items that were changed. Those are the actual rules that have to be abided by. So the things that are not in red are not necessarily a Kansas Department of Commerce rule. So, do you have any questions on any of the information provided? The next steps then would be to take formal action on the elimination of a penalty payment, and then to approve all documents as recommended by the City of Concordia Revolving Loan Fund Committee.
You can't take formal action now.
Oh, I'm sorry, the study session, sorry. And then, once it's approved at your regular meeting, then you'll need to have that outlined in the minutes, and then those minutes will be submitted with these documents to the Kansas Department of Commerce, who will have the final say on all the updates to these documents.
Well, what's your thought on the penalty? I didn't hear it.
Thanks.
$15 is not much, one way or another.
Yeah, I think we could
We're not
eliminate
gonna
the,
pay $15.
the $15 fee, and I think we should put this on the next agenda and we'll get it approved.
Let me add that I had in previous years been fairly involved with revolving loan matters, but actually that between them handling it so well, I found that my help is unneeded. So they've just been involved very, very closely with all these changes, and they're right on top of it, so I'm very, very confident.
And I guess that would be important. If this is the way they want things done, we need to make
Do it.
certain we do it, because we don't want to lose those funds. So if they're serious about taking them back, if we don't play by their rules, then we'll play by their rules.
And Larry has played a critical role in the closing of all the loans and the preparation of those documents. But we can create some standard documents, and that's probably something that Ashley and I should work with
New city attorney right over
Larry
here.
on. Okay, and reviewing those documents and making sure that, see if there's anything else we'd like to update there.
And I've known Deb for 25+ years and worked on projects with her, and I feel comfortable with, she's very thorough.
Thank you.
We'll put it on the agenda then, let's go.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay, and before I step aside, I would like to take an opportunity to thank Larry for all of his help throughout the years. It's just been a pleasure working with you, and just have done a great job for the city, and I've enjoyed working with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. Moving on to the pet ordinance.
As you know, Mr. Stuka, who is here this evening, came to you a couple of meetings ago and asked you to consider amending the city code. This is the city code we're talking about here, code section 449 concerning restrictions on dangerous animals. Includes any dog that has the appearance or characteristics of being predominantly of a pit bull type breed or a mastiff type breed, or that has been hybridized with a wild canine, with the exception of any dog that has, 1, earned a Canine Good Citizen certificate from the American Kennel Club, and 2, been implanted with a microchip for identification, and 3, has not been found to be dangerous in a municipal court proceeding. This is lifted out of our general animal control ordinance, but basically, if you have a dog that's primarily or predominantly a pit bull or mastiff or wolf dog, that's what the hybridized wild canine is, then you can't have it in Concordia under our current ordinance. unless it gets this canine good citizen certificate, gets implanted with a microchip, and hasn't been found to be dangerous previously. So that refers to the rest of the ordinance. A dog that has been in trouble and been found to be a dangerous dog is not going to get off the hook on that. And that's particular to the dog, not to the breed. These are particular to the breed. These are what are called breed-specific ordinances. At the time it was being drawn, the language of predominantly of a pit bull type or predominantly a mastiff type was suggested by local dog experts as being better than saying mastiff or pit bull, because so many dogs are combinations of things. These days, you can get a blood test from the vet that will tell you makeup, or a genetic test, it must be, the vet that will give you a makeup history of the dog. I've seen some of these, they use them in municipal court, and it'll have little pictures of all the dog breeds that occur within this dog. So it is now, at least according to these tests, which are accepted by the court, possible to determine if a dog is predominantly a pit bull or predominantly a mastiff, if it's a crossbred of some kind. So the judge goes by those when doing it. In looking at this situation, I was reminded that 2 years ago we had the situation of the mixed breed wild canine wolf dogs come up, and as part of all that, the city put out a questionnaire in our mailed out water bills, asking people what they felt about our list of animals you can't have in Concordia. That's how our animal ordinance works. It says you cannot have these kind of animals. And this was the tabulation of the surveys we got back. We have about 2,500 water customers, so we sent out 2,500 of these and got 680 back. That's a very strong return on a survey. And as you can see, the light yellow lines are an opinion that an animal should not be allowed in the city. The darker lines are that they should be allowed, and the blue lines are no opinion. And what you see just going across here is a very high level of opinion that all of these animals that are listed here should not be included in the city, with the exception of, female chickens did pretty good on this one, and we do allow female chickens in the city, but everything else scores pretty highly. The only one else anywhere close to acceptance as much as female chickens is pit bull dogs with testing. With testing, that's what we're talking about with Canine Good Citizen Award. You see fighting mastiff dogs on there, the subject for this evening, and the survey result shows that of the 680 total, more than 500 citizens said they would not like these dogs, and of more than 450 citizens said they would not like these dogs even with testing, if they're qualified as a canine good citizen. So people are not wild about the idea of having any of these types of animals in town. I think part of this, to me, I phrase this in my mind, that we're talking about what a citizen of a community like ours should expect in terms of the relationship to the community's animals. If you're living in town, there's going to be dogs, there's going to be cats, and dogs might bite you, even though we do have animal control and try to enforce laws, make people keep their dogs under control. Under any circumstance, any dog might occasionally bite somebody if they're startled, or they feel they're threatened, or their home is threatened. And that's kind of an acceptable risk that I think people feel they have to take. You might get nipped by a dog. You might even get seriously bitten by a large dog that's loose, or the dog is just not well cared for or well trained, and have to go to the hospital and get some stitches or a shot. I've seen those happen. And I think people accept that as an unavoidable and reasonable risk of living in a civilized community. But I don't think people accept the risk that the neighbor's dog might kill them or kill their child. And that's the difference we have with the kind of dogs we are controlling. The difference between a pit bull and a mastiff and, say, a German shepherd or a collie or an Irish setter or something is not its size or even its temperament, but its ability to hurt you because of the way they are constructed. These dogs have a much harder and more lethal bite than most dogs do. They are bred that way. They have been bred to fight. They've been bred to guard, and they might be as gentle and calm and loving as you could ask around their family, but they only have to lose it once, and somebody could be permanently maimed or dead. Could we see the next picture, please? Like that. This child was bitten in the face by a pit bull. It's not a mastiff, it's a pit bull. The pit bull is 4 times as large and has a stronger bite. This child was bitten by a pit bull. Think of its life from this point on out. What I don't want is somebody coming in here with a picture, this is my kid, and showing it to us. Next item, please. On to the next page. This is Mastiff. Mastiffs can and do kill people. And this is easy stuff to find on the internet. And I summarized it for you. You've seen this. It's been in the packet. 2017 dog bite facility fatality. Family Mastiff kills 5-year-old. 2017 dog bite fatality, 75-year-old Queens woman dies after attack by pet Mastiff mix. 2014, could I have the floor here, please, Mr. Mayor? 2014 dog bite fatality, Mastiff kills child. 2013 dog bite fatality, woman killed by bull Mastiff. Now, true, this is only 4 listed here over this period of years. How many do we need? If you look up collie fatalities, you're not going to find any. Look up, it was mentioned in our previous